All right, problem 25. Problem 25 looks pretty easy. It says, in the figure above, the coordinates of point V are what? You just have to remember that this is x, y, negative y, and we can just count the number of these lines here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because this is the negative y portion of the graph, we know that the answer is 7 comma negative 5. And that is answer choice E. Number 26 says, a rope 40 feet long, this is the rope here, like my rope, 40 feet long, is cut into two pieces. There you go, there's the cut. One piece is 18 feet longer than the other. Okay, we'll call this side x, and this side x plus 18. What is the length in feet of the shorter piece? Okay, so what is the length of the shorter piece? So the shorter piece is going to be x, right? Because x plus 18 is always going to be longer than x. So how do we figure this out? Well, let's try to figure out the relation between x and the 40 feet. x plus 18 is going to be the whole rope, and the whole rope is 40 feet. Let's subtract 18 from both sides, and you get 22 on this side. Add the two x's, and you get x equals 11. So this shorter part of the rope is 11. And 11 is answer choice B. Number 27. A student's average arithmetic mean test score on 4 tests is 78. What must be that student's score on a 5th test for the student's average score on all 5 tests to be 80? So what we're looking for is 80. Okay, if you'll recall, on averages, the average is going to be equal to all tests scores added together over the number of tests. In this case, we know that of 4 tests, you know, when they take the number of tests, when they take the scores from 4 tests and they average them, you got 78. What we want to do now is try to figure out what that 5th score would be. So we know that there are 4 tests that were taken, and each of them averaged 78. If we add it to this mysterious 5th test that has yet to be taken, and we find the number of tests, the number of tests would be 5, because it would be 4 tests plus that final test. And the problem tells us that the average that we're looking for is going to be 80. All we have to do is then solve for x, and then we would figure out what he or she would have to score on this 5th test in order to achieve an average of 80. First thing to do, cross multiply. 80 is technically 80 over 1, so you cross multiply. 5 times 80 is 400. Bring this down. 400 would be on the right. On the left, 4 times 78, 312 plus x, minus 312 on both sides, and you are left with 88. And 88 is answer choice E. Number 28 says, the average distance between the sun and a certain planet is approximately 2.3 times 10 to the 14th power inches. Which of the following is closest to the average distance between the sun and the planet in kilometers? And they tell us that 1 kilometer equals 3.9 times 10 to the 4th inches. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to turn this into kilometers. But how? Well, we're going to have to divide. 2.3 times 10 to the 14th would have to be divided by 3.9 times 10 to the 4th. Well, you could add a bunch of zeros after here and try to divide, but that would be kind of long. The faster way to do it is actually to think of this equation as two different parts, or think of this equation as two completely separate parts. We'll deal with the left side first, then we'll deal with the right. So on the left side, let's see what happens. 3.9 divided by 2.3. Let's move the decimal point over 1. And, let's add an extra 0. When you add an extra 0, it's the same as being divided by 10, right? So what you're actually going to be doing here on the right then is removing 1 power of 10, or it's being multiplied by 10, so you actually remove 1 power. You're borrowing 1/10 from the right side of this equation. Now, 3.9 and 230, what is that going to get us? Well, everything before the decimal is going to be a 0. What's after the decimal? Well, 39 goes into 235 times, you get 195. 5 here, you get a 3 here, and drop down a 0. What if, let's see, 8 or 9 would get us a 351. Yeah, so approximately on the left side it equals 0.59. Now on the right side, what does that get us? 10 to the 13th divided by 10 to the 4th. What you do is you just subtract the exponents when you divide. So 13 minus 4 is 9. So 0.59 times 10 to the 9. Is that a answer? Yes, that is one of the choices. That is right. Actually, looks like I made a little mistake here. Actually, I forgot that when we borrowed the extra 10 here, we should have moved over the decimal one more space over. So it's actually 5.9 times 10 to the 9. Yes, because if it was 0.59 times 10 to the, it would actually be 0.59 times 10 to the 10th. So that would not be correct. So this is actually the answer, and that is answer choice B. Number 29. If the quotient A over B is positive, which of the following must be true? Let's see here. We got A, B, C, D, and E. And A says A would have to be greater than 0. Well, is that necessarily true? If A was a negative and B was a negative, then you would get a positive, and this would be true. So A is not correct. B is greater than 0. Same logic. If B was negative, well, A could be negative as well, and then it would be positive, and it would still be true. So B is out of the running. C says AB has to be greater than 0, which means that both A and B have to be positive, or they have to be negative. You can't have one negative and one positive, or vice versa. Does that have to be true? I think so. If you had -3 over -6, that would be 1 over 2, and that is definitely greater than 0. If you had 3 over 6, that would equal a half, and that is also greater than 0. So C seems like the right answer right now. But let's check the others. So D says A minus B is greater than 0. What this is basically saying is that A has to be larger than B, but both could be negative. A could just be less negative. So D is out of the running, and E says A plus B has to be greater than 0. Does this have to be true? Well, what is this actually telling us? This is saying that A could be a negative number, for example, -2, and B could be a larger number, such as 5, and that would be greater than 0 because the answer would be 3, and 3 is definitely greater than 0. So E is out of the question as well. So yes, C is the correct answer. And that wraps up this edition. Join me in the next video.